Hello, Black women. Today we are talking about post election holiday conversations, and I am going to share with you 10 or so tips or ways that you can create an improved outcome during potentially difficult times. Happy November. I love the month of November because I have deemed November the month of no Vember, meaning it is a perfect time as the leaves are falling off of the trees to say no to something and to let go of something. Okay. My favorite. If you are new here or if you are true here, hi. My name is Roshini. I am a content creator, a special needs mom. I am a certified life coach for Black and West Indian women. And I am also a Black woman healing. I create humor filled healing spaces like this one so that other Black women can heal too. You are so welcome. If you are watching, I am live on YouTube, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. Hit the like button, share this on your timeline with another Black woman who could use some tips to navigate potentially challenging conversations post election, especially during this holiday season. Also, drop a pineapple in the chat and let me know where you are watching from. Okay. Okay. So, you guys, I was actually wondering if this conversation was going to be any fun for me. And I decided that it was. I actually got more and more excited as the time came up because even though I am not a fan of the outcome of the election, I feel like this conversation is necessary and it's part of my superpower and how I want to help. So today is one of those times where if you really are cringing at next week coming up, Thanksgiving in the United States, and the upcoming holiday season, specifically in having to have difficult conversations over the holidays with family members, with friends, with coworkers, or just in general in life. Stay tuned because I really sat down and thought about this, and I want to give you some tips and some topics. Hi, Marissa. Hello. Um, so, first of all, a few disclaimers, a few jumps of information while you grab your notebook. The first thing I want to say is my audience is Black and West Indian women. I am live on a lot of platforms, and I know that conversations specifically about the election can bring the milkshake can bring all the boys to the yard. Okay. However, if you are here, please know that I talk to Black and West Indian women because I am a Black West Indian woman, and my perspective on life is from the perspective of a Black West Indian woman. Therefore, the tips I give may be helpful to you if you are not any of those things, but don't come up here hating and hollering in the dancery, okay? Because if I ain't talking to you, I ain't talking to you, and that's okay. All right. That's the first thing I need to say coming out the gate. Amen. Amen. The second thing I want to say is what inspired this conversation or what inspired this video in the first place. Last year, I did a whole November series, as in ways to say no, ways to let go. Marissa, sometimes you got to let people know up front who you're talking to. Okay. If I'm not talking to you, I'm not talking to you. If I see something on the internet that says 7 ways that men can XYZ, I'm not going to jump in the comments and say, what about me? You know why? Because I am not a man. So I'm just letting people know. I'm out here talking to Black and West Indian women about how they can navigate potentially tricky conversations in general, especially in this post election situation, especially in these upcoming holidays. I'm just making it as clear. Let us make it clear. Okay. Like Kamala say, let's be clear. I'm being clear. Okay. So if you unclear, hopefully you clear. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to say before I give you some tips on how to navigate these conversations, the reason why it's pressing for me to share these tips with Black and West Indian women are if you look at the demographics of the outcome of the most recent United States election, you will easily see that Black women voted 92% of Black women voted for Kamala Harris, who was not the person that won. Yes. And I believe 80% of Black men. And when you split the map up, the electoral college map up by demographics of race and education, non college attendance versus non-college attendance level education, and a few other nuances, it is very easy to see that Black women, education withstanding, that's not what this conversation is about, but Black women specifically wanted a different outcome for this election by the majority. Okay. It's a rare Black woman you're going to see walking around that's happy with the results. Okay. Because 92% of us were hoping to go in a different direction, a whole different direction. All right. FYI, if you want a little bit more of my thoughts on the election, you have to go watch my last watch and or listen to the last podcast episode for the I've Created a Monster podcast that I put up recently. If you are on YouTube, it is at Monster Created. If you are on listening on any platform, just search Spotify, all of them, Monster Created. I went way more into my thoughts on the election results and white women wearing blue bracelets and the whole shebang. Okay, so that's over there. I'm not talking about that today. I'm very focused on some thoughts I've had for myself and some thoughts I have that'll help you guys. Hi, Lori. Hi, Lori. So, okay, so that's the first thing. One, I'm talking to Black women. Don't come up here busting up the place trying to center yourself. Don't do it. Because one of the lessons that has to be learned for people to live in a diverse environment is when they are the center of a thing and when they're not. Just like in kindergarten, sometimes somebody is talking and you're not supposed to talk. Okay. And we all have to continue these lessons we learn in kindergarten in adulthood. Okay. The second thing is Black women wanted a different outcome, which can make the conversations that we may have to have moving forward challenging, exhausting, difficult, and all the things. Yes, yes. And that's why I feel like this particular video is going to be helpful and is necessary. Okay, impetus for this. The impetus or inspiration for this conversation is we are hosting Thanksgiving at my house this year. I could go into a lot of nuanced details about how that has become the case, but I'm not going to. Okay, I'm not going to. Just the facts. Thanksgiving next week is happening at my house. Yes, yes. We also have not hosted Thanksgiving at our house for years. And since the pandemic, we also haven't really done Thanksgiving with other people, really. We've done Thanksgiving by ourselves since the pandemic. And last year, we actually, if I remember correctly, last year on Thanksgiving Day, we went to a restaurant and just bought their little Thanksgiving buffet situation. And then the day after Thanksgiving, when all the sales were happening, we cooked like our own little mini Thanksgiving food. Okay. So the impetus for this conversation is one, we are hosting Thanksgiving at our house next week. And two, there are people coming to my house next week who I don't know if they voted for -45, which is what I call DJ. And if you don't like that, then make a video and call him what you want. They voted for -45 in 2016. I do not know how they voted this year. But based off of my knowledge of them and the conversations we had back in 2016, it would not shock me if these same people voted for him in 2020 and also voted for him this year. And these people tend to not have the strongest social and emotional skills. So it would not shock me if I ended up having to experience a conversation. Well, at least somebody tried to get me in a conversation I didn't want to have. I'm not going to have it, but we'll get into that. Okay. So anyway, hopefully, y'all see how nice I said that? Hopefully you understand the impetus for this, because one of the things that I have become like a ninja at on my healing journey is the nuance of conversation, setting boundaries, and creating and protecting my peace. So even though there's potential for that, I want to share with you some things that I thought of for myself as well as for you to help you navigate potentially difficult conversations. Okay, I have 10 things written down. So let's just go into the notes. Let's do it. Let's do it. And if you guys have any ideas, wherever you're watching, throw your ideas in the comment sections for ways that you believe that you could improve outcomes, right? For yourself. Do not try to improve outcomes for other people and sacrifice yourself, Black woman. Stop it. Do not do that, okay? Improve outcomes for yourself, and if their outcomes are improved, great. During these interesting times where we have to talk about this election and the fact that these people voted for this man, okay? The first tip I want to share with you is don't go. So the first tip I want to share with you on how to have a better Thanksgiving, how to have a better Christmas, how to have a better experience with difficult people who insist on bringing up conversations that are divisive and harmful is just don't interact with them or don't go. Unbeknownst to you guys and to some people, you do not have to constantly expose yourself to negative spaces that feel emotionally harmful. This was something that a lot of us were just doing by default before the pandemic, but the pandemic showed us that the way that we show up in spaces has changed. The expectation that we have to always be in a space has changed. You heard me say, now, Jonah, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here, Jonah. Y'all, this is my nephew. Tip one has been my tip. Jonah, what you doing here? Tip one is don't go. Okay. Tip one is don't expose yourself to harmful rhetoric. Just don't do it. As you heard me say, over the pandemic, because of the pandemic, we were freed from a lot of expectations of obligatorily having to do a thing. And we were peacefully back here making keto-friendly foods. Hey, Jonah. I'm gonna try not to wild out too much because I know you're watching, but it's okay. You're a grown man, so you can get what you get now. Okay. We were peaceful, we were happy, and we were away from a lot of the noise. Okay, we were away from a lot of the noise. As you heard me say in 2016 at Thanksgiving, that's when I found out. Well, I kind of already knew, but that's when we had family members joyously expressing who they voted for. And that's why I assume that they are still in that thought process, right? So one of the things you could do is make different plans for Thanksgiving. Last year, I told you that we ended up at a restaurant on Thanksgiving Day. And then the day after is when we cooked a little mini Thanksgiving meal for ourselves at the house. And the reason why is because it just worked out better that way. My son had his leg was broken last year. It was a whole lot going on last year, and we just did it. Okay. So I want to give you permission to excuse yourself beforehand and make a different plan. The other thing you could do if you aren't comfortable enough with just not showing up is make what I'm calling an abbreviated plan. What do you mean by that? I had a friend once who was going, I believe, to her husband's family for something. Right. So they were traveling from where they lived to where her husband's family lived. And the husband's family was a bit much. And I told her, instead of staying with the husband's family in the house and all of that, maybe they could stay at an Airbnb. And even beyond that, maybe they could stay at an Airbnb or a hotel, go and do whatever the activity was at the family member's house. And she could drive separately and she could leave before her husband. And she was like, for some reason, that was like mind-boggling to her that she could catch an Uber back to her Airbnb and they could plan that beforehand. And that's what I mean about abbreviated plans. Upfront with intention. So don't wait until something pop off, somebody give you a migraine, somebody over there blathering saying some stupid crap in the corner, okay? And now you want to throw up. You can't even enjoy your dressing because this person over there gloating. And you trying to get out of here, you're hot, you're having an anxiety attack. Don't do that. Tell yourself beforehand, I'm just not going to go, or I'm going to go for XYZ amount of time, and then I'm going to duck out. Okay. So tip number one is don't go, or abbreviate with intention whether or not you're exposed to these things, you guys, because okay, let me go back. I feel like this goes without saying because of the audience I'm talking to, but let me say this. The reason why I say stuff like exposed to it and all of that is because unfortunately, the person that has been voted as the president elect has um is objectively a horrible human being, right? He's everything that we are taught not to be. And for some reason, people have elevated him to the highest office again. Never made sense to me in 2016, never made sense to me in 2020, and clearly didn't make sense to a lot of other people. Still didn't make sense to a lot of people in 2024, but people voted this man in. He has so many criminal cases that if you Google his criminal cases, there are sites that consolidate them into one place so that you can understand, the hush money ones versus the classified documents versus the election interference. Like, there's just so much that people have to catalog in. I have seen this man mock people with disabilities, and you know that that hits home for me because I have a son with special needs and disabilities. I have heard this man degrade women, talk about SA, ingest, uh, spend time around and become, in community with people with just horrible character. This man has dragged immigrants, some of which are describing my family, calling places S-hole countries. After the hurricanes in the Virgin Islands and specifically in Puerto Rico, he was down there tossing paper towels at people who didn't have electricity and food. He didn't even know that the United States Virgin Islands was an unincorporated territory and said he wanted to speak to the king of the Virgin Islands or the president of, he said he wanted to speak to the president of the Virgin Islands when at the time he was the president of it was just ridiculous ignorance, ridiculous ineptitude, a horrible human being. And that's why I'm saying expose yourself to, because when you get around people who will vote for that, they are saying that they are willing to align themselves with those things. And that's not a difference of opinion. That's a difference of character and choices. That's a difference of character and choices. Okay? So if you don't want to get sucked into those conversations, let me give you step number 2. Creole King said not to mention all the stuff that they said about Black people, correct. Women, correct. All of which I am so far. Democrats, correct. At the Madison Garden rally, they dragged Puerto Rico and called it trash. They said it was an island of floating trash. It was just, sorry, I was gonna go off in the rails, but I came back. Okay. So that's the first thing. Don't go. Second tip I give you is intentionally prepare yourself beforehand. Let me say this. Every tip I give you after this is labor. Okay. I'm not going to lie. Every tip I give you after this puts labor on you that I wish you didn't have to have. That's why my first tip was don't go. Like, real talk. Because every tip I give you after this is going to be how to kind of exist with the harm. And I hate that I have to say that, but it's true. But I also want to offer you that nuance. And I also want to offer you that if you decide not to exist with the harm and you say F it and you want to just chuck the deuces and not be around it, I'm 100% in agreement with that as well. Okay, do it. Okay. Tip number 2, mentally prepare beforehand. What do I mean by that? Set your intention on how you, not them, how you are going to show up when you go into these spaces, whether it's at your job, whether it's at your Thanksgiving with your family, whether it's something after Thanksgiving with whoever, whether it's at, I don't know, church, Christmas. You decide who you are going to be beforehand. And this is something that you should just do in general in life. And one of the things that I personally have learned how to do over years, okay, I think I have a video on YouTube that's over 10 years old talking about this, is I don't explain myself. I don't. And the reason why I don't explain myself is because my trauma response has a lot of that frothing and going, right? And one of the things that I have learned is some people operate out of love And some people operate out of power. And when you're a love person talking to a power person is going to demand explanation from you, and you are going to be giving them explanation, thinking that you are having a rational conversation with a person who's built on the same foundation of empathy and love that you are on and operating from that place, when what you are doing is letting them drain your power. Nobody have time for that. Not when there's ham and turkey and pie to be eaten. Okay. So I have decided beforehand, I'm not explaining myself to people. That's kind of how I show up. You decide how you are going to show up beforehand and you mentally prepare for it. Okay. Another thing I suggest when you decide how you're going to show up beforehand is you assess your own emotional triggers. You assess your own emotional triggers. Okay. Um, if you know good and full well that Auntie so and so be running their mouth because they don't have no social skills and they like to provoke people to wrath. You know that kind of person that likes to hit and hide their hand. They like to fuel conflict because listen, let me tell you something. A power driven person also loves a good conflict because it is an opportunity for them to have a little tete-a-tete back and forth, and that's just that just makes their day. If you are a person, you got to peep game. Okay? You got to see it before you see it. And that person is always going to try to be baiting you into foolishness because that's their fuel. Power and authority and having like what they would consider friendly back and forth is their favorite thing in the world. Meanwhile, you triggered AF. So assess your emotional triggers beforehand and make sure that you are going to beforehand decide what you're going to do or even avoid the triggering person entirely. Like I said, don't go. But if you are there, you might not need to go over and sit down with your plate next to Auntie so and so when you know that all she likes to do is incite wrath in people, right? The next thing is practice calming techniques that work for you. Okay. Calming techniques are self soothing. If it can soothe a baby, it might soothe you. Adults, a lot of times, don't look at self soothing as something we need. And that's why people be in here acting crazy. All right. Something you can see that makes you feel calm, something you can taste that makes you feel calm, something that you can, and that's perfect at Thanksgiving. Okay. Something that you can hear that calms you down, something that you feel that calms you down, right? Something that you can, touch, I think is the last one. So, practice calming techniques, maybe like deep breathing, maybe counting in your head, maybe some sort of visualization calms you down. Do that before the gathering. Have intention of what you will do during the gathering so that you are not emotionally triggered. This is going to sound like a weird suggestion, but I'm going to say it. I was on TikTok yesterday and I saw a lady who dressed up like Papa Smurf and was running through stores, grocery stores, and the like, playing music on her phone and dancing while recording herself dressed up as Papa Smurf. I laughed until there were tears in my eyes at this video. And actually, after I finish doing this, I will put the link in the information box on the different platforms so you also can see the foolishness. I woke up this morning thinking about this woman. I went back to her page, looked at the video again, and laughed crying because security guards are trying to catch her and she quick. I mean, she just ducking. It's the funniest thing to me. I'm not even joking. If you're going into a stressful place and a video makes you laugh, have that video queued up so that you can decide, I'm not going to engage with these people. And if somebody tries it, you could just walk off, go in the bathroom, and watch a funny video. I'm talking about actual, real tactical things that'll help you. So the first tip is don't do it. Don't even go. Don't engage in the difficult conversation. Don't let people suck you in. The second tip is prepare yourself beforehand by being intentional in deciding how you're going to show up, by reflecting on what your triggers are before you get to this place, and by having some calming and soothing techniques on lock beforehand. Okay. Tip number 3 for how to make this thing go better. Choose your battles, right? Listen, everything don't have to be a fight. Everything don't have to be addressed. Everything doesn't have to be responded to. Okay. Everything doesn't have to be responded to. I hate that my nephew is sitting here listening to me now because now he's on to me and my techniques. But when I tell you, one of my favorite things to do is to just stare at somebody and not respond. I love it. I love just not responding. Okay? I tell myself, I don't even need to have this conversation. I like my peace. Now, I am aware that people who are talking to me can often experience that in all kinds of ways. And if I'm being honest, I don't really care. Okay. I used to call it Black Barbie back in the day, which is, how do I say that? I used to mm, lean heavily on the fact that people thought a pretty person might be ditzy. Dang, I'm telling all my secrets. And I know you're like, girl, you ain't pretty. Shut up. Okay. I'm telling you my lived experience. I don't know what I was translating through here. I've been through a lot. I'm getting old. Your girl is tired. Okay. But back in the day, okay, I used to lean heavily on that. And that meant I would intentionally just like go blank when people said something that I didn't feel like talking about and hope that they just wondered what the heck was wrong with me and they would leave me alone. So, tip three is to just choose your battles, you guys. Not every comment requires a response, which is why I told you to figure out self soothing things beforehand. Listen, if eating, I'm not telling you to eat to soothe yourself because I don't feel like that is a sustainable thing. But if it's Thanksgiving, it's the one time a year where you could really, like, really just go get a piece of pie and go sit down and mind your business and walk away. You have full permission to go do that. So tip three is to choose your battles because you don't even have to. A person who is inciting a conversation that feels like a battle cannot fight with you if you're not fighting with them. They're trying to have verbal sparring. They're trying to make you feel uncomfortable. They're trying to bring up conversations that are clearly uncomfortable conversations. You can just not even engage in that. You could just choose to not engage, choose to self soothe, choose to go back and talk to somebody who you actually enjoy their company, choose to go get a piece of cake, choose to go take a nap, choose to go get a walk outside, choose to leave. Okay. Tell them jokers you're going to go get a bag of ice and go home. Hi, Alicia. Hi, Alicia. I really liked your totally side. I like your video that you put up about when you were on your walk and you were talking about how difficult it is for Black women to rest because you feel like you're going to get in trouble. It's really good. Thank you for that. That you really articulated perfectly some things that I have experienced. That anyway, totally. Okay. Tip number four. Tip number four. You have to practice using neutral language. Neutral language, you guys. Neutral language. Now, if election stuff have you nuck if you buck, if your whole nervous system goes awry and you can't use neutral language, then remember what I said. Don't go. Don't engage. Figure out your triggers beforehand and self-soothe. Forget the neutral language. Don't use no language. Don't do it. Neutral language is for somebody who has practiced and who can regulate their nervous system enough to remain conscious and choose their words wisely. Okay. So this is for the people who can get to that place. If you can't get to that place, I gave you stuff to do already. Right. For the people who can't and they're going to be in there flipping tables, just it's not worth it. Don't do it. But if you are a person who's able to regulate yourself enough to get to the neutral language part of it, remember power people perceive things as attacks, things as accusatory, things as inflammatory that you would not perceive that way because they looking for a tussle. When you are operating from love, you are hearing and offering communication differently than a person who's operating from an authority-based thing and a power dynamic, which in my theory, a lot of people who voted that way think that way. I don't know that to be true. It's just a guess. Okay. So if you have people who are looking for inflammatory things and looking for accusatory things, you have to practice how to be neutral. I'm going to give you guys some scripts because I remember when I was first learning how to be a better communicator, how to communicate boundaries, how to discern my boundaries, how to all the things. People giving me scripts was so helpful. At first, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I just have to like memorize these things. But you memorize them so you can just shoot them out and get them until they become second nature. So neutral language sounds like, I wrote down some things. Instead of saying things like, you can say stuff like, I understand your point. Or I hear, if you don't even want to say I understand because you don't understand, because I'm that person too. I'll be like, but I don't understand. You could say something like, I hear your point, even though I don't agree. Or you could just say, I hear your point. You see that part? That's the most important part. They blah, blah, blah. They try to incite, or they say a lot of things that you disagree with, or you can't understand how somebody would align themselves with, or it just seems fill in the blank, whatever you feel, however you feel, that's valid. And you say, I hear your point. You know why? Because that's what you did. You heard their point. You didn't affirm anything. You didn't negate anything. There's nothing there for them to hang on to, right? Another one that I have just heard recently and I've started to try out is, this seems really important to you. That one is even more powerful, you guys, because that one has a little smidge of validation, which if you don't want to validate, I get it. But, a little validation for a person who thinks this way goes a long way. It also is neutral. And so practice coming up with neutral language to respond to somebody with. If you don't know what to say, literally memorize. I hear your point, or I can understand your point, and then stop talking. Yeah? Okay, number 5. Number 5. Oh, Alecia, you said, thank you so much for watching. I'm so glad. Yeah, it was perfect. I listened to the whole thing and I was like, oh my gosh, you articulated my thoughts so well. And I thank you for that because that was perfect. Okay, number 5, intentionally memorize what I'm calling conversation detours. You know how a detour, the conversation's going this way and you want it to go that way? You can intentionally memorize what I call conversation detours and just have them ready. This is something like the neutral thing I just said, right? Another thing is, come up with neutral topics that you are going to detour the conversation with beforehand, okay? Because you want to redirect the conversation. An example of that would be, let's say you're going to talk about the food, right? So whenever a conversation gets wonky, you're going to redirect, you're going to hit them with the conversation detour. Okay. It's like memorizing a play in sports. You're going to hit them with the conversation detour. You're going to bop, and then you're going to something else. Okay. So it could be something like, wow, that is an interesting thought. By the way, have you had the sweet potato pie? It's so good. I think I'm going to go get another piece. Right. You could add on that extra of like, I'm about to leave. Right. That is such an interesting thought. Write that down, you guys. That's an interesting thought. By the way, did you? And then you could say, that was such an interesting thought. By the way, did you, I don't know, hear about the new social media platform that they started? By the way, that's such an interesting thought. Did you notice that they were opening another Walmart off of Highway 70? You see what I'm saying? So the person starts talking about something difficult, and you have pre-memorized a conversation detour. That sounds like, I hear your point. I hear your point. That is so interesting. By the way, excuse me, I need to go use the bathroom is another great one, because who's going to argue with somebody that needs to go use the bathroom and then get up and go? Get up and go. Okay. Go in the bathroom, click on the video of the woman dressed like a smurf running through the, sorry, and giggle yourself into oblivion about the fact that you just pump faked Auntie Linda because she was trying to talk to you about -45 and how he's going to make it great again. And you hit her with the pump fake and you in the bathroom watching a smurf. Okay. You in the bathroom watching a smurf. Write it down, girl. I'm trying to tell you. Come up, memorize it, you guys. I'm not even joking. Memorize these things. That is so interesting. Oh, I think I have to go to the bathroom. Excuse me. And you just pick up your plate and walk away. Go in the bathroom for real, for real. So they see you go in the bathroom and pull up your video that makes you giggle. Okay. Watch 75 cat videos in there until you giggle yourself into oblivion and your nervous system feels better. And when you come out of the bathroom, go the other way. Okay. Go out on the deck. All right. So that's the fifth thing. You're going to not go. You're going to mentally prepare before you go. Three, you're going to choose the battles. Four, you're going to use neutral language, practice neutral language. Five, you're going to have conversation detours, practice and ready to go. Okay. Six, this is advanced too. Remember, I told you if you are a deregulator, only stick with the earlier ones. Don't try these advanced ones. Okay. This is for the advanced girlies. You can learn how to acknowledge that somebody has big emotions without escalating them. And remember, I told you a person who's operating from a power mentality, a person who likes that kind of grimy, gritty conversation where they like see other people get uncomfortable and something in them finds joy in that, you're not going to win in a conversation with that. They're going to mess up your Thanksgiving and holiday experience. They're going to give you indigestion and you're not going to digest your turkey very well. Okay. You're not going to digest your mac and cheese very well. So you can learn how to acknowledge that a person is feeling their feelings without escalating them. And this one is when it looks like validation a little bit. And I know that's difficult when you don't want to validate, but I mean, sometimes you can use validation as a tool to rediscover your peaceful place, like to find your peace in the midst of the chaos. Okay. And so what this looks like is you validate them even if you don't agree with their viewpoint. So an example could be like, I could tell that this topic means a lot to you. Write that down, y'all. I'm trying to help y'all. I can tell that this topic means a lot to you. That is such an interesting thought. This seems really important to you. I am pausing with intention so that you guys can see how to do this. Not this seems really important to you and that beep, bop, bop, bop. No, 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 no. I can, you say the sentence and you stop talking. If you've ever coached with me in the past, that pause, that stop talking is power. That stop talking is peace. That stop talking is where you take your agency back. They are not sucking the life out of you. You are choosing how you will interact in this space, and then you are not interacting anymore. I'm telling people to write it down, Nicole, so they could free themselves. I can tell that this means so much to you. Thanks for sharing. The election seems like it was very important to you. And I know somebody's going to be like, Rusty, that feels weird. Listen, do you care about feeling weird or do you care about your peace and being able to go and get that yam juice that you want to pour the extra yam juice onto your onto, mix it a little bit with a little bit of that stuffing. You want to, they're talking to you and you're just like, let me release myself from this foolishness so I could go in here and get a little bit more mac and cheese, a little bit more dressing, and a little bit more yam, so I could get the juice from the yam and just put a little bit of, on the spoon, on the fork, and then add a little bit more mac and cheese, and then just dip the bottom of the fork into that, pick up the cornbread. Like, you thinking about how you about to layer your food. They over there doing something else. Release them into the wild and let them do that. You said, now that's a thought. Release them into the wild. Alecia, I'm trying to teach the young people and the old people how to let it go in the month of November. November. Okay? No. These are my techniques. I've been doing this for years. I have been doing this for years, you guys. And if you're a person who's ever experienced me in real life and you have been a victim of this, now you know what was happening when I just stopped and you were like, what happened? Sir. Okay. Next thing is I put down Leverage time out. Well, okay, let me go this. The other thing too, another one I wrote down before I go on about acknowledging their emotions without escalating. I appreciate you for sharing your perspective. Period. Yeah? Write that down. I appreciate you for sharing your perspective. Now, if you want to go a little bit further and you feel a little bit, oh, knowing that this might bring more conversation, and then you might have to do the conversation detour, bop, bop, bop. You might have to do a pump fake. I appreciate you for sharing your perspective, even though we see this differently. And then you take a bite, right? And if they're like, well, how could you see it differently? Because da 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 and ba 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 ba, bip bop, ba 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 bop bop bop. That's when you hit the conversation detour. I'm trying to help y'all. Wow, I could really see that this is important to you. Oh my God, I have to go to the bathroom. And then you up and you go. Or, wow, I could really see that this is important to you. Thank you for letting me know. Have you noticed that there's a wall? They're building a Target, right? Like two blocks up from the other Target. I was in there the other day and they already have out the Valentine's Day Stanley Cups. You just go into a whole nother thing. You go into a whole nother thing and let them be where they are. Okay. So that's it. The next tip I have is I wrote down leverage timeout. Okay. What does that mean? Always, hmm, always know that you can create a pause, a break, or a stop. That's what I mean by a timeout. You don't have to wait for them to create a pause, a break, or a stop for you. You're a big girl. You're a whole adult. You, Black woman, get to create with the agency that God gave you a pause, a break, or a whole entire stop. Yes? An example of this is this seems so important to you. Maybe we could take a break. This seems so important to you, but I don't want to talk about the election right now. I could see that this means a lot to you, but I don't know. Maybe we could come back to this later if you are willing to come back to it later. Don't say that and you're not willing to. I don't, gosh, this is super important to you. I don't want to talk about this. And then if they keep talking about it, you just say, I hear you and it seems so important to you. Thank you for sharing. I don't want to talk about it. So I'm going to go, you know, elsewhere. I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to go get a drink. I, I appreciate you sharing. And then you pick up your whole body and you exit. Yeah. One of the things that I had to learn in my own healing journey through years of therapy is that I get to leave situations that harm me. When my therapist and I worked through many years understanding that as a kid, I physically wasn't able to leave scenarios where I felt emotionally harmed. So I would dissociate and my mind would leave, but I would leave my body there because as a kid you couldn't leave. And one of the things I had to learn as an adult is to come back. Don't just check out in my mind while I'm sitting there being berated by an emotionally harmful person. Come back into my body with my thoughts, bring my mind back into my body, and then lift my whole body. Yes, Alecia, the whole thing. Okay, from the rooter to the tutor. Take Rushni out of the girl, get us out of here. Adult Rushni comes back into adult Rushni's body and takes adult Rushni out of here. We grown. We get to go. You don't get to sit here dragging me for filth, talking about a bunch of foolishness about some felon that you decided you wanted to follow. I don't want to follow him and see where he goes. Okay. I don't want it. I don't want you to explain to me how it's aligned with Christianity in your skewed perspective. I don't want it. And I get to leave. Okay. If I'm being honest, I've already thought about if things go off the rails, if people come to my home, I'm just going to be like, listen, you in my house and we're not talking about that. I need y'all to understand. Pick up your whole body, the whole thing. Bring your thought. Don't be in your mind being like, I can't believe they talking about this. Lord, here she go again. I'm so tired of her. I can't even enjoy my food. All of that ruminating that you're doing, you say, girl, you still sitting here. Talk to yourself. Girl, you still sitting here. And you be like, we sure is. Well, why is we sitting here? I don't know. And then I want you to come back to this video in your head and be like, what did Rashni tell me to do? And the person's just saying something, something. And you just look at them and you say, wow, this seems so important to you. Thank you for letting me know. I have to go to the bathroom. And then you pick up your whole body, you go in the bathroom and you close the door and you giggle uncontrollably about the fact that you just did a whole conversation pump fake on Auntie Linda because she wanted to tell you that Jesus is king and they voted for the right person. And you just like, listen, not today. Okay, I'm trying to enjoy my cornbread. All right. The next thing I was going to suggest, the next tip, I think I'm on 8, is to model and or choose calmness. Okay? Model and or choose calmness. Yeah? Now, if you are a person whose nervous system does not allow you to be calm, you have an anxiety response, which I do. The first thing I would suggest to you is before, it's kind of late now because it's next week, but beforehand, have self-soothing things that you do to bring yourself down. And if you know that you are not able to keep yourself calm, do not engage. Do not engage. Don't engage and then be like, oh my God, I did it again. I tore up the place. Do not engage. Just, right? I gave you the do not engage suggestions earlier on. This is for the people who can calm themselves and engage. Okay. I do a lot of things to keep myself calm because I have a PTSD diagnosis. I have an anxiety. I have all the things. Nervous system is shot. Okay. I could really go there, but I don't. So you choose or you model calmness for yourself. Choose calmness for yourself. Model calmness for other people. Right? I told you earlier too. Everything after don't go is labor on your part. If you don't want to do the labor, don't do it. I'm just telling you the truth. But if you are there, model calmness. That means choosing a steady, calm tone, which is my nemesis. I am not the best at this. I kid you not, I suck at this. I'm not from here. I'm not from Missouri. The way that I speak in the Virgin Islands, I was told that I was shy and I was soft spoken and I was like all these things in the Virgin Islands. And then when I came to Missouri, apparently I'm loud and abrasive. I don't understand. And honestly, I'm breathing on 50's neck. I'm exhausted of trying to contort myself and how I speak so that other people feel comfortable. F it. I don't care no more. Okay. It is what it is. If you want to love me, then darling, don't refrain. Okay. This is the Virgin Islander you get. I'm going to be cordial. I'm going to be kind. I'm going to be funny. I'm going to be light, but I'm also going to have a tone. But if you are better at a steady, calm tone and body language, okay, then offer that to them so that it de-escalates the situation. Don't flip the tables. Don't roll your eyes. Don't raise your voice. Don't. I'm going to get to this in a second. Nicole says I'm going to break out the yarn and the hook. I'm going to get to that in a second because I actually had a suggestion for that on my last podcast situation. So actually, let me start that because I'm going to get right back to that. Okay. When you want to remain calm, go back to the calming, soothing things I told you to come up with last time. Right? Nicole says she going to sit there with her yarn and her hook. Maybe you are a deep breather. Maybe you have headphones in and you're listening to music. Maybe, like I said, you're like me and you're going to be pulling up a random woman on TikTok running through a store dressed like a smurf. Okay? It's the best. When I tell you that video cured my depression, I can't stop laughing every time. And the reason why I love that video is not just because it's funny, it's because I am a goofy person like that. And when you look at the video, the majority of the people are looking at her like she's crazy. Okay. But every once in a while, somebody dances with her, which would have been me. And I am grateful for the few people that danced with her, that they exist. But you know what? I'm also grateful to live in a planet with a woman who decides to dress up like Papa Smurf and run through the grocery store because the amount of joy that brought me, I just cannot. Okay. So you choose your own calming techniques. My calming techniques often include choosing to speak to people who seem like they have sense, because there are family members that I gravitate to that their thought processes are much more aligned and calming to me. And so that's one of the things I do. I definitely remove myself from situations with the quickness. I choose to just stop engaging and not say anything Like, just stop the flow of words entirely, even if it's weird, because I don't care if it's weird if I have peace. My peace is so much more valuable as to whether or not you think the cadence of this conversation makes sense. I literally do not care. And I also lean heavily on humor and movement and dance. I'm a dancey person. Okay. Those are some of my soothing techniques. So you choose calmness for yourself, or you model calmness. When they, you know how Michelle Obama say, when they go high, we go low. And nowadays we're all like, we're off that. But honestly, like, if you decide that you're going to be calm, they could go high and be trying to blow up the spot, and you could be here, because there's nothing more annoying and dissatisfying to a person who's trying to escalate a situation than to not have the power to escalate you. You see what I'm saying? They trying to throw out, you know, Donald gonna do this, Donald gonna do that, he gonna do this, he gonna do that, and everything in you is like, this is stupid. This is like, you're just like, must respond. No, no, no. Don't take the bait. Don't take the bait. And then just walk away. And like I said, go into your calming technique. The next thing that I suggest is to have a support system. Before you go to the thing, engage in spaces where you feel seen, heard, and valued, like this one, like any groups that you are in, where your lived experience is not invalidated, right? Black women. I have a coaching membership, thepineapplecrowns.com. It's on the screen. I have a group on Facebook, Find Your Light. If you look on Facebook, it'll come up. There are all sorts of spaces. Marissa, who is here, she has a space. I think Alecia has a space. Where's Alecia? Alecia has a space where your lived experience is not invalidated. Exodus Summit has a space. All kinds of stuff. I think I saw H&D Abroad. Where are you? This channel. There are spaces where you can go online and in real life. Hopefully you have people in real life, friends, a friend, at least somebody that you can talk to about it beforehand. If you don't, your therapist. My last therapy appointment was amazing. I have a Black woman therapist with intention. I did that intentionally. And it took a long way for us to get to this place. But the last therapy appointment, I literally just went into the appointment and was like, I am about to become unhinged with intention. I'm about to let it all out. It's going to sound like Logoria. It's going to sound crazy, but I'm letting my brain just. And she was like, go for it. And I'm not joking. We sang songs in there. There was multiple singing. There was laughing. We were sliding off the chair, and it was well with my soul. Okay. That was a support system that I was aiming myself toward and had created for myself before I went into these difficult spaces. If you have somebody who is in the same space with you, having the same experience, tap into them as support during the situation, like during Thanksgiving, during Christmas, the family member that makes sense. Maybe both of y'all could be like, when we need to tap out, we tap out together and we go on the deck, or we go in the basement, or we lock ourselves in the, the basement bedroom for a second and take a breather. And then after the event, before you even go to these things, have in mind somebody that you can revisit with, like your therapist, like the spaces that you have already curated, to unpack what's going on, how it feels, so that you don't have to carry this thing alone. You don't have to carry the fact that you're in a disorienting space with disorienting people and or a person. Okay. And then the last thing, two things actually. The last thing I have written down is know when to walk away. Okay. You got to know when to hold them. I was going to say it. Know when to fold them. Know when to walk away, and know when to run. Okay. Just like the first suggestion, one of the ways that you can improve the outcome of a difficult post-election and or holiday conversation is to know when to cut your losses and leave. Protect your emotional well-being and peace. Excuse yourself, preferably politely. Okay. I'm trying to express to you guys, I don't want you guys to get all worked up and ruin anything. Excuse yourself politely. Cut your losses. Okay. Here are some scripts. Write it down. Marissa said Kenny knew. Kenny knew. He said you got to know when to walk away. Okay, know when to run. You better count your money when you're sitting at the table. Okay, because there will be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. Kenny knew what he was talking about. Um, write this down. I think we're at an impasse, so I'm going to step away for a bit. I think we're at an impasse, so I'm going to step away for a bit. If you're not at an impasse and you didn't even engage in the conversation, I can tell this topic means a lot to you. Thanks for letting me know. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to step away for a little bit. And then step away. Don't forget the step away part. The step away is very important, okay? Because that's where the healing is. That's where the freedom is. That's where the agency is. Do you hear how nice and neutral that is? You didn't even this seems really important to you. I can tell that this topic is very important to you. Thanks for letting me know your thoughts on this topic. Excuse me, I'm gonna step away for a bit. Excuse me, I have to go use the restroom. Is that easy? Okay. I appreciate you sharing your perspective, and we do see it differently. Or we definitely see this differently, but I appreciate you sharing this your perspective. Or we definitely see this differently. I can tell that this topic is really important to you. If you could excuse me, I'm going to step away for a little bit. Or you could say, I'm going to step away because in your head, you're like, bump a little bit. I am leaving. And then you can step away into the kitchen, get your plate, cover your plate, and step right into your car and leave. Step into the Uber. Sorry. Okay, let me go to this one. Nicole brought up something, and I actually want to talk about this. So Nicole says, I'm going to break out the yarn and the hook. Okay. And let me say this on my last podcast taping for the I've Created a Monster podcast, I came up with this idea where, and I want every Black woman to consider this. Okay. Everybody listening, you could consider it, but I'm going to do this. I've already started. And it's called MMOB. Okay. Minding my own business. If you want to say minding my own Black business, you can too. But I decided on that podcast, I'm going to call it MMOB. And the MMOB project for me is a project that we decide on for ourselves personally, not as a collective, something we personally are going to work on every single time we feel like, no, let me go back. It's a thing we're going to work on, period. Just a passion project, just a patience project, just a peace project, okay? Mine is cooking through some cookbooks. I'm going to intentionally work on cooking through these cookbooks just because I want to mind my own business, MMOB, and especially whenever I feel like I need to put on a cape, I need to ruminate about the state of the world and what people are about to do. I need to jump in and save somebody because that's what Black women are programmed to do. Whenever my nervous system tries to drag me back onto the conveyor belt of carrying things on my back that are not mine to carry, I'm going to remind myself that I need to MMOB, mind my own business, and I'm going to focus on something that has to do with me doing my MMOB project. My specific MMOB project is cooking through some cookbooks. Okay. The first one is a old cookbook that I got from the Virgin Islands. I think it's from the 70s. It's falling apart. It was my mother's. She's not getting it back. Are these recipes healthy? Probably not. But am I going to do it? Yes. I already have it downstairs. And ironically, the first recipe, it starts with beverages. So the first recipe, ironically or serendipitously, is just cranberry punch. And that's perfect for Thanksgiving. So I'm going to make some cranberry punch, hopefully, if I remember to buy the ingredients. Okay. The second cookbook I'm cooking through is my very first cookbook that I got when I was a child. It's like a Better Homes and Gardens cookbook for kids. And I actually remember making some things out of that cookbook when I was a kid. I still have it downstairs. So I'm gonna alternate. I'm gonna do the old Virgin Islands cookbook as my MMOB project. And then the next week or two or whatever, I'm gonna grab the next recipe from the first recipe in the Better Homes and Gardens book. Neither of which are super healthy because I think that Better Homes and Gardens book is from the 80s. Okay, so I'm in old school recipes at this point, but we're here now. All right, that's my MMOB project. And the third cookbook, yes, there's 3 cookbooks, is a healthy cookbook because I was like, I need to balance out all this stuff I'm about to be making that I might not be able to eat with healthy food. So I suggest to every woman, Black women especially, to get your MMOB project. I might make this a hashtag, okay? I might make it a hashtag MMOB, so that we can remind ourselves to pick up the quilt that we are supposed to be working on and put down the cape, pick up the cookbook and put down the cape, pick up the paintbrush and put down the cape, pick up the new nap pillow, the pillow that you bought off of TikTok that's going to help you nap. Every time you think about it, your MMOB is to take a nap. Every time you want to put a cape on, or your nervous system says you have to go engage with some wild person talking crazy to you, and you're just like, I don't want it. Then you go to sleep. Pick up thrifting. You just like to go walk around thrift store. You don't even buy stuff. You just make a TikTok about thrift stores. That's your MMOB. You're just going to be out here. I saw a girl on TikTok doing color walks. What's a color walk? She takes a walk, but before she takes a walk, she decides on what color is going to be the focus of her walk. So if her color is pink, then everything she sees that's pink on that walk, she focuses on it. Or she takes a picture of it. Pink flowers, pink on somebody's shirt, pink chairs at a restaurant, pink in the sign of a storefront. Listen, maybe you're about to become a bird watcher. Maybe you're about to learn how to do crochet braids. Okay. I'm going to work through these. Listen, I'm going to work through these cookbooks like nobody's business because I've been meaning to do it and I haven't done it. Okay. So, anyway, those are some of the suggestions that I would give to help you. You think you're going to name your next card? Listen, I'm trying to tell y'all. Okay. And if you have an MMOB project that is portable, like knitting, like crocheting, like needlework, maybe you take it with you to Thanksgiving or the holidays. And like Nicole said, you use it as one of your self-soothing things, but you also use it to just excuse yourself out of conversations. Right? You just pick up your project and you walk off or I need to go get some more yarn. I need to get something out of the car. Right? I need to not be around you. Don't say that. That's not it. Don't write that one down, you guys. That one was nice. Anyway, 1, don't go. 2, mentally prepare beforehand. 3, choose your battles. 4, use neutral language. Practice neutral language. Learn neutral language. Go back in the video and write down some of the scripts I gave you. 5, create a memorized conversation detour. 6, acknowledge them and validate their emotions while remaining calm and not escalating. 7, create and leverage pauses, stops, and timeouts. 8, choose or model calmness. 9, leverage your support system before, during, and after a gathering. 10, know when to walk away. Know when to cut your losses. Know when you're having a conversation with somebody who is having an entirely different objective in this conversation. You are trying to connect and they are trying to conflict. Once you recognize that and they are not available for connecting, Alecia says she want to get into bird watching. You know what I like about your videos, Alecia? You stop and you acknowledge living things. Alecia will be doing a whole video. You so I swear I love you. Alecia will be doing a whole video and she'll be like, yeah, so we were having this incredible, ooh, is that a butterfly? Is that a, hello, butterfly? Hi, you guys, look, it's a butterfly. When I tell you that thing brings so much, you'll be like, is that a deer? Y'all, there is a deer over there. And I'll be like, mid-sentence, Alecia is like, y'all, I swear to God, I just saw a caribou off in the distance. And y'all was like, hello, Mr. Caribou. I love that. I love that for you. It's the best thing. Do not stop doing that. Okay. It'll be an ant. And she'll be like, Is that an ant? Hi, Mr. Ant. I love it. It's the best thing I've ever seen. Because you know why I like it? Because I personify things like that too. And people always like, girl, why are you talking to that car? Girl, why are you talking to that? And I'm just like, because I want to. So the fact that you do that brings me so much joy. Anyway, okay. That just is the best thing ever. I'm like, Alecia be like, is that a moth? And you are just talking to the moth. You in there for 2 solid minutes having a conversation with the moth. And the rest of us are like, that is so beautiful. And then you'll come back and just finish your conversation. Anyway, so that's that, you guys. Hopefully this helped you guys navigate and create more positive outcomes for yourself and hopefully for the other people encountering you when you use some of these techniques and choices. And and that you can have a much more enjoyable, peaceful holiday season and post-election for all of the spaces. Somebody up here said it, and I saw it, but I didn't think, where did it go? Was it you, Catherine? Somebody said that this is useful not just for post-election, but it's useful in a lot of spaces where, yeah, here it is. Catherine said, thank you for this. This also applies to many other topics too. The gay agenda, religious beliefs, et cetera, et cetera. Listen, I'm trying to, how do I say this? I had to learn on my own healing journey that I get to choose what I do and do not engage with, what I do and do not talk about. What I do, I don't get to choose what they do and do not talk about. I don't get to choose what they do and do not engage with. Even if I am in a scenario that is not a desired scenario that I love, I still get to choose. I still get to choose. And that was something that I had to really unlearn destructive messaging that I didn't get to choose, that I had to sacrifice myself and I had to blah, 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 and put other people's stuff above me. And it was a draining experience that I am still unlearning on a daily basis. I am choosing to understand that I get to protect myself. I get to heal myself. I get to choose. So it is all of these tips are useful, not just for the holidays and not just for post-election, but to preserve yourself, to radical self-preservation, right? To preserve yourself, to be whole, because healing is a return to wholeness. Healing is a return to the whole you that God desired for you to be. And you can't be whole if you are shattering off pieces of yourself and letting people chip off pieces of yourself and grind pieces of you into a fine dust. That is not a return to wholeness. And nobody is going to return you to wholeness. You have to return yourself to the God within. I don't know how I got over here, but it's coming out. So I'm going to let it come out because it's something I have to tell myself all the time. Okay. In the past, people who need you to be broken and shattered are going to be agents of breaking you because there is a benefit for you to be confused and not whole. There's a benefit. And that's sad. It breaks my heart. Sometimes those people are family members. Oftentimes, when you are a person that learns to shatter yourself, the place that you learn to shatter yourself is in your family of origin. And so those same people are going to be trying to continue the pattern of breaking you down so that they can use this broken version of you for something, right? And I'm not saying that to be judgmental because they also probably had to be shattered for the use of some other person. But if you know better, do better. And if you're sitting here listening to me in 2024, if your thinking thinker is thinking and your critical thinker is thinking, right? You can show up whole. You can choose to heal, which is what I am, a Black woman healing, right? Creating spaces for other Black women to heal. Wholeness, integrity, coming together. And that means if you don't want to talk about something that degrades other humans, that others people, that makes their lived experience less than, you don't have to, whether you are in that group or you are not. I don't know why that had to come out of me, but it had to. Listen, It had to come out, Alecia. It was in there. I felt it. I felt it right here. I felt it right here. I don't care who is talking about it. I don't have to talk about it. I don't care if they try to pull me into their power play of talking about it. I still don't. I don't want to talk about that. They say something else. They say something else. You're not going to say it. You're not going to respond to me? I am responding. I don't want to talk about that. I just, anyway, I love you guys. Enjoy your weekend. Before I go, I want to tell you that my planning retreat is coming up in December. I'm going to put it on the screen. What planning retreat, Roshini? Every single year, I do a virtual planning retreat. This year, I am doing the Create Your 2025 virtual planning retreat. Starts in December 13th. So we have like 3 weeks before it starts. It is a week-long virtual planning retreat with modules, videos, and audios and everything. But the most important thing is it is my way of helping you, one, figure out who you are so that two, you can make an actionable plan based off of who you are to create the year that you want. Why is that important? Because direction is important. You have to aim at something. One of the things I've learned on my own healing journey is the reason why my life was kind of like all over the place and not going any way, shape, or form in the direction that I wanted it to go is because I kind of was just going through the motions thinking that if I checked the boxes, I would get the prizes. I don't know. Sometimes these systems will tell us that all you have to do is do this, then do that, then do that. And then all of a sudden, like all of these like conveyor belt, Americana prizes fall. And the older you get, the more you realize that is not the case. You have to have an intention and you have to have a plan, especially with how this thing going down next year. I don't know what 2025 going to look like for us. Okay. But I know with all of the agency and power that I am granted to create my own life, I am going to show up with a plan. And so I made a planning retreat for myself several years. I would book a hotel room and I would go into the hotel and come up with these plans. And I've been doing this for years. And over the years, I put together this just method of what I do to create my year. And I started to change my life. Have I changed it entirely yet? No, I'm still in the process of changing it. But I started to notice that when I aimed at something, I hit something. And this was all just for myself. And then one year I was in the hotel room and I had an individual coaching session with a coaching client. And she just happened to say to me, I would love to do the planning retreat with you. And I was like, I don't understand what that means. That was January of 2020. Well, we all know what happened a few months later. The entire world shut down. Everything went virtual. And so in 2021, when I was going to do my planning retreat by myself, okay, it wasn't for y'all. It was for me. Okay. Your girl was trying to redirect her life. I offered for people to do it with me. I had 50 women, I think, do it with me for free that year. Okay. And I have offered it ever since. So this year I am offering the planning retreat. It is a virtual retreat. There's worksheets and audios and all that. There's a week long. And during the week of the planning of the December retreat, you get 4 live Q&A group calls with me and the other participants. And then at the end of the planning retreat, you have a plan, like an actionable plan to aim at and create a year based off of you. It's not a general. Everybody comes up with their own different thing. Everybody's plan is different because it's literally based off of you. Okay. And then the next thing that I did this year that I learned from last year is last year I separately offered monthly accountability calls after the planning retreat for people to sign up. And the women who signed up for and finished the planning retreat accountability calls, right? So January to October, those women had so many. They were just rip roaring. They were so excited about it. They were like, there's no way I would have executed on these things if I didn't have these accountability calls. And those women have all already signed up for the planning retreat again because they see how powerful this sort of motivation and accountability and plan is. Okay. So this year I just went ahead and I just included the accountability calls with the planning retreat. That's basically the gist. And so this year, when you sign up for the planning retreat, the 10 accountability calls, monthly group accountability calls, January through October, are included when you do the December planning retreat. And then in January, I will be offering the planning retreat again. There will not be any live calls during the week, the planning week, though. So this is the only one that has the live calls during the planning week. So if you need help with actually developing the plan, this is the one to sign up for. You can go to bit.ly/virtual planning retreat. You can also go to thepineapplecrowns.com. It's the first link on whatever platform you're looking at it on, and sign up. In the January one, you won't get the live calls, right? So anyway, I would love to help more Black women because, especially, listen, real talk, like real talk, beyond me just trying to be like, hey, come do the planning retreat. We have to help each other. When I say we, I mean Black women. We have shown up so much for other people. We are kind, empathetic, and willing to sacrifice ourselves to a fault to make sure that other people get a good outcome. And that is a admirable and beautiful attribute of Blackness, and especially Black womanness. It is nature and it is nurture. Yeah. We come in, I believe that we are close to the divine. We are so close to the divine that we are portals for what God intends. Often when I experience Black women, and I believe that we are also kind of trained. And I feel like that, thank you, Marissa. The planning retreat is amazing. Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to say about the planning retreat, you guys, is it's cumulative, meaning the first time you do it, it's a lot, especially if nobody's ever asked you some of the questions that I ask you, because I'm not interested in you making a plan based off of what you think everybody is supposed to do, what you think you're supposed to do. I'm interested in you making a plan based off of you. So it might be a lot if you've never done that work before, but if you've done it before, come do it again. Because like I said, I do it every year, and it rolls on each other. You'll see it just rolls on each other. And the next thing you know, your life trajectory is going like this. At least that's the experience I've had personally. But I feel like Black women are closest to the divine. I also feel like we are, that closeness and that ability to show up for other people is milked for all it's worth by a system and systems that don't elevate us in the same way that they use us. And in that way, I have in the past already made the decision. But if I'm being honest, the election results really codified my decision to aim at us and show up in my fullness, without apology for Black women, because we got to check for ourselves. We have to help heal each other. We have to support each other. We have to hold each other's arms up. We understand each other. We don't have to explain to each other. If 92% of us was like, we want to go this way, and even if the rest of the country was like, we want to go that way, there's just a peace and a pride when I walk around looking at another Black woman thinking, you got it. Like, you understood what we were trying to do. Like, you understood where we were trying to go. And in that way, we can show up for each other and help each other go that way. Okay. So Lori said, join the planning retreat. It's so worth it. I would have never accomplished as much in 2024 if not for Roshini's coaching. My heart is for us to win. Ooh, I just felt kind of teary-eyed. And I think often when you are coaching, they tell you that when you are coaching, you're coaching a previous version of yourself. Ooh, I feel teary-eyed. And as a coach, you can sit there and once again, I don't know who this is for. I'm just going to go here. It's coming out. You can tell yourself that you don't have anything to give people. Who's going to want something from you? Your life is not perfect, exactly where you want it to be yet, yada, yada, yada. Therefore, diminishing thought. I have decided that I am going to always coach myself and remind myself that in this thing called life, I always have something to give, because even if I'm not on step 50, I'm on step 37. So everyone who's on step 1 to 36, I got something for you. I really do. And I may not be where I want to be in every area, which is why I'm still doing the planner retreat. I'm not just hosting the planner retreat for y'all, okay? I didn't just do the planner retreat and be like, let me sell it to these women and let me get some. No, I do this every year. I sit down and I do this every year because I need my life to have intention and direction. And I need it to go in a way that I want it to go. And I want the same thing for you. That's that's what I'm saying. I'm tired of seeing Black women with big hearts and kind hearts follow the messaging that they are given and end up in the ditch. I personally was following messaging that I was given and noticed that I was going in the ditch and started trying to redirect this thing. Okay. And that's part of the heart behind why I do what I do. It's because I'm coaching previous versions of me and telling her, you don't have to go in the ditch. You can have agency. You can have joy. You can create something that is aligned with who you are supposed to be, the you that God created, the divine you. I don't care what the messaging is. Anyway, I have to go, you guys. I'm rambling on. I love you guys. I really do love you guys. And I pray that every communication and conversation that you have moving forward, these tips that I gave you are helpful. And if nothing else, you learn that there's a power on the inside of you that you are looking for. And what you're looking for is in here. Even if it's not strong yet, even if it's not built up yet, it exists on the inside of you. And when you turn toward you, you will find the divine, the God inside. God is within her. She will not fail. He will help her at the break of day. It's in there. And what you have to do is turn toward it, work it, strengthen it, and then you can apply it to creating the life that you want. I'm out. I got to go. I love you too. I love you guys too. Be well. Be encouraged. Here's a pineapple, y'all. Bye.